Israeli F-35s were reportedly ready, supported by aerial refueling, yet not a single one entered Iranian airspace. Why? Because behind the borders, Iran's IRGC had deployed a new defensive strategy that caught even Israeli generals by surprise. According to an analytical report from Israel's Channel 13, and confirmed by renowned defense analyst Ron Ben-Yishai, during Israel's recent retaliatory strike, its fighter jets did not even approach within 100 kilometers of Iran's borders. To be clear, all attacks were conducted with long-range cruise missiles launched from outside Iranian airspace, primarily from northern Iraq or from distant naval assets. The analysis from Ron Ben-Yishai, a senior security analyst for Yedioth Aharonoth, is straightforward. Israel was unwilling to accept the risk of a direct aerial confrontation with Iran's advanced air defense network. Systems like the Bavar 373 and Sum Khordad are considered a serious threat, capable of detecting and engaging even stealth aircraft like the F-35. The Standoff attack, a calculated and cautious response. This raises key questions. Why were only missiles fired? Where were the fighter jets that had taken off? Following Iran's large-scale missile and drone operation, True Promise, Israel vowed a precise and painful response. However, what occurred on April 19, 2024, was more akin to a controlled, cautious strike from a distance. While Iranian air defense systems registered explosions near the Noje airbase in Hamadan and other locations, both official Iranian and Western sources confirm that no fighter jets penetrated Iran's airspace. An Israeli military spokesperson officially acknowledged that no air assets entered Iranian skies and that the operation relied solely on cruise missile capabilities. This means the fighter jets were used merely as standoff launch platforms. Why did Israel avoid direct engagement? 1. The high risk of Iran's air defenses. Retired General Amos Yadlin, the former head of Israeli military intelligence, stated in an interview with Israel's Khan network on April 21st that Iran's air defense was on full alert. He argued that entering Iranian airspace meant flying into a dense, layered environment of integrated systems, where a single miscalculation could even draw in American forces. He specifically identified indigenous systems like the Bavar 373, Sum Khordad, and even the IRGC's passive radars as a real threat to Israeli aircraft, which is why direct engagement was avoided. Demonstration, not destruction. Analysts from the Haaretz newspaper wrote that Israel's objective was primarily symbolic, to send the message that we have the capability to respond, but without intending to trigger a major escalation. Firing a few missiles from outside the borders was a calculated move to maintain a balance of deterrence. Performance of Iran's air defense, a strategy of prioritization. Official Iranian media confirmed that some missiles were intercepted before reaching their targets. It appears the defense was executed based on a force priority targeting doctrine. The integrated defense network prioritized and destroyed threats aimed at strategic and critical sites. However, some missiles targeting less significant areas were assigned a lower priority. You might ask, but there were casualties. How can those targets be low value? The system works by prioritizing threats. If 4 missiles are headed toward a nuclear facility and another 4 are aimed at a less critical military depot, all defense assets are linked to neutralize the most severe threat first. In this process, it's possible for some lower priority missiles to penetrate defenses and hit peripheral targets, causing limited damage and, unfortunately, some casualties. Reports from Hamadan and Kermanshah provinces indicated that the impacts caused limited fires in some warehouses, but no critical military infrastructure was seriously damaged. Technical analysis. What the attack revealed. Analysis from intelligence sources like South Front and The War Zone as well as local user-generated footage, provided critical technical insights. The attack. The assault utilized slow-speed, precision-guided cruise missiles, likely the Rampage-US type, launched from outside Iran's borders. Israel opted for the safest possible standoff distance to avoid engaging with Iran's air defenses. The defense. The active systems included the Sum Khordad, a fast, maneuverable medium-range system, the Tabas, a similar system with a shorter range, and passive optical systems for detecting stealthy missiles. The most crucial element was the integrated network that combined data from Army and IRGC radars, enabling unified command and prioritized engagement. Inadvertently pressure-tested Iran's air defenses and revealed capabilities that surprised Western analysts. 1. Multi-layered, integrated tracking. For the first time, it was clear that Iran's diverse radars, operating on bands like X, L, and S, function as a single, unified network. 2. Unified Command and Control, C4ISR. Iran demonstrated it has successfully created a unified command network between its army and IRGC, enabling real-time, coordinated decision-making. This is a significant leap beyond relying on standalone systems. Rapid and decisive response. Despite the surprise nature of the attack, Iran's defense network was activated in under 2 minutes. Footage showed interceptor missiles launching simultaneously from multiple directions. True defensive depth. While previous estimates put Iran's layered defense at a depth of 150 kilometers, this event showed that its active defense layers extend up to 300 kilometers, deep into its territory. This means an attacker would have to penetrate multiple active defense zones. Conclusion. Iran forged real deterrence. Israel's limited attack, far from exposing Iranian weakness, achieved the opposite. It proved that Israel, even with its most advanced technology, is unwilling to accept the risk of entering Iranian airspace. Today, Iran possesses 3 levels of deterrence. 1. Strategic and intelligence deterrence. As Amos Yadlin admitted, there is uncertainty about exactly what systems Iran has and where. 2. Operational deterrence. The high probability of losing advanced aircraft like the F-35. 3. Psychological deterrence. The fact that no Israeli jet entered Iran, followed by Israel's media silence and its framing of the attack as symbolic, was a clear retreat from its initial threats. The comparison is telling. To strike the Iranian consulate in Damascus, where air defenses are weak, Israel used fighter jets. Against Iran, it was forced to use standoff missiles. The message is clear. Iran's deterrence is no longer a slogan, but a battlefield reality that has reshaped the strategic landscape.